Sex-linked traits. A sex-linked trait is a gene located on a sex chromosome. If you'll remember from our mitosis and meiosis videos, males have two sex chromosomes, an X and a Y chromosome. Females have an X and an X chromosome. So X's and Y's are our sex chromosomes in humans. So a male is a male because he has a Y chromosome. And a female is a female because she does not have a Y chromosome. If we take a look at our X and Y chromosomes, our X chromosome is much bigger than our Y chromosome. And since our X chromosome is much bigger, it can hold a lot of genes. Whereas our Y chromosome is very small, so it only has a few genes. Now, the only genes you really need to know that are located on the Y chromosome are genes for testes development. So the Y chromosome is so small, it doesn't have genes for much of anything else, except for genes that identify a male as a male. So almost all sex-linked traits are going to be on our X chromosome since it's so much bigger. Assume that any disease, when we say it's sex-linked, is recessive, unless it's otherwise stated in the problem. So here's some examples of sex-linked diseases. One is color blindness. Now, if you're colorblind, that doesn't mean you see the world in black and white. Color blindness is simply the inability to distinguish between certain colors. For example, you might not be able to tell the difference between red and green. So if you see a pattern of red and green, while somebody might see stripes and dots or splotches, somebody who's red-green colorblind may be unable to see those stripes and splotches because the red and the green all looks kind of like the same color. Now, remember we said that all sex-linked diseases are normally recessive unless otherwise stated. So a big C would be normal, it's dominant, and the little c, or recessive, would be for colorblind. Okay, you can pick which letters you want to use, but it's easy just to name the alleles based on the first letter of the disease. Another sex-linked disease is hemophilia. Hemophilia results in problems clotting blood. Clotting blood helps you to form scabs and to stop bleeding inside of your body. Somebody with hemophilia may suffer from internal bleeding. And again, hemophilia is recessive, so it's represented by a small h, and the normal condition, or the normal allele, is represented by a big H. A carrier is someone who has one normal allele and one abnormal allele for a trait. So they have a big letter and a little letter. Now, if we're talking about sex-linked diseases, only females can be carriers, and we'll see why that is in just a moment. People who are carriers do not have the abnormal phenotype because they have one normal allele, and that allele is dominant and it hides the abnormal phenotype. So here we have a female, XX, so we know it's a female, and she's a carrier. She has one big H and one little h. Males cannot be carriers because they are XY. They cannot have a letter on their Y, so they either have a big letter on the X or a small letter on the X, but they can't have one of each letter. Now for some practice problems. Let's say we have a woman who is a carrier for color blindness, and she marries a normal man. What is the probability that they will have a colorblind child? Remember, color blindness is a recessive disease, so big C is normal, and little c is colorblind. So like our other genetics problems, you're going to want to make a Punnett Square. So the first thing we do is draw a Punnett Square and label what our parents are. So we have a woman, and so we know the woman is XX, and she's a carrier for color blindness. That means she has one of each allele. So she has a big C and a little c. Make sure when you're using letters like C's, where the capital and lowercase letter look very similar, make sure you very clearly distinguish the big letter from the small letter, or you may end up messing up your problem. Now, she marries a normal man. So since he's a man, he has to be XY, and if he's normal, he has to have a big C on his X. Remember, you don't put any letters on the Y. Now you fill out this Punnett Square just like your other Punnett Squares. It's going to be a little more crowded because you have extra letters. So in our first box, we're going to have X big C and X big C. In our second box, we're going to have X big C, Y. In this next box, we have an X big C and an X little c. And in the final box, we have an X little c and a Y. Okay, as you can see, whenever we have an XX, that's a female, so we have female and female child, and XY is a male, so these two are males. Now the question says, what's the probability or the chance that they will have a colorblind child? Now a colorblind child must only have small c's. Okay, the big C would make that child normal. So this child has X big C, so it's normal. And this child has X big C, X little c. She's a carrier, however, since she has one big C, she's still normal. She still has a normal phenotype. All right, this boy right here has X big CY, so he's normal. And this boy has X little cy, so he has colorblindness. So therefore, 1 out of 4 will be colorblind, or 25%. Now our next problem deals with colorblindness as well. So we have a colorblind woman, and she marries a colorblind man. What is the probability that they will have a colorblind child? So we need to draw our Punnett Square and decide what letters we're going to put, what alleles we're going to put for father and mother. So the woman is colorblind. Since she's a woman, she's XX, and she's colorblind. That means that she only has colorblind alleles. So she has X little c and X little c. Now she marries a colorblind man. Since he's a man, he has X and Y alleles. And he is colorblind. That means the allele in his X must be for colorblindness. So that's a little c. If we fill out our Punnett Square, we will see that all of their children only have little c's. There's no big c's that they can give their children. They don't have any normal alleles. Therefore, 100% of their children will be colorblind.